Rogfast Tunnel, Norway. Welcome to the deepest ambition. Let's begin this journey not from the surface, but deep below. Far beneath the crashing waves of the Norwegian coastline, under the fjords that have shaped a nation's identity, lies a bold and audacious engineering marvel, Rogfast. Rogfast. A name derived from two words, Rogaland, the county it seeks to connect, and fast forbindelse, meaning fixed link in Norwegian. Together, the word captures the spirit of something permanent, something bold, something that defies natural boundaries. This isn't just another infrastructure project. Rogfast is the deepest and longest underwater road tunnel in the world. Once complete, it will stretch over 27 kilometers, plunging to a depth of 392 meters beneath sea level. The story of Rogfast is not simply about getting from point A to point B. It's a story of vision, persistence, innovation, and perhaps above all, resilience. The kind of resilience that has defined Norwegian infrastructure for decades. Today, we're going on a journey. A journey that will take us across rocky coastlines, into political backrooms, into construction pits alive with dynamite, and even deeper, into the minds of those who dared to dream this tunnel into reality. But let's not rush. This isn't a quick tour. Over the next few minutes, we'll walk, slowly, through every chapter of this colossal undertaking. From its earliest conception, to the rock-blasting methods deep underground, from the fears about cost overruns and environmental impact, to the dreams of a faster, ferry-free Norway. And why? Because understanding Rogfast is understanding how a modern nation adapts to ancient landscapes. How it builds connections, not just of concrete and cables, but of communities, economies, and ambitions. If you've never heard of Rogfast, you're not alone. It doesn't get the global spotlight like other megaprojects. No Burj Khalifa towers. No Panama Canal headlines. Yet what's being built here is quietly changing everything. Think about it. What does it mean to drive nearly 30 kilometers under an open sea, through solid rock, surrounded by hundreds of meters of water above your car roof? It's not just a tunnel, it's an act of engineering defiance. An answer to the challenge Norway's geography has posed for centuries. A land of fjords, why go underground? Let's take a moment to appreciate the land Rogfast belongs to. Norway. A country carved by glaciers, defined by valleys, framed by jagged cliffs and endless fjords. It is nature at its most dramatic and most obstructive. With over 1,100 fjords and countless islands, Norway's western coastline is stunning and slow. Journeys that look short on a map often take hours due to ferries and winding roads. That's where Rogfast steps in. It's part of a much bigger picture, the E39 coastal highway upgrade, a plan to connect Norway's west coast cities through seamless, ferry-free roadways from Kristiansand in the south to Trondheim in the north. Rogfast is the cornerstone of this transformation. Without it, the E39 dream remains fragmented. The numbers behind the vision. Let's talk numbers, because they tell the scale of ambition. Length, 27 kilometers. That's longer than 250 football fields end to end. Depth, 392 meters below sea level. That's deeper than the Eiffel Tower is tall. Cost, over 25 billion Norwegian kroner, that's roughly 2.4 billion US dollars. Completion timeline, estimated around 2033. Vehicle capacity, designed for over 5,000 cars a day. And yet, this is more than a tunnel of statistics. It's about connection. For the fisherman in Bakken, the teacher commuting from Randaberg, the logistics driver avoiding a delayed ferry. Rogfast is a tunnel to the future for the people who call this rugged coast home. Your journey today. Here's what we're going to explore together throughout this video. The geographical and cultural reasons behind Norway's tunnel obsession. The Rogfast design in technical and human terms. The political battles that brought it to life and nearly stopped it. Engineering brilliance, from blasting bedrock to managing water pressure below sea level. the human stories of those building it and those waiting for it to change their lives. And finally, how Rogfast fits into the global map of infrastructure, setting records, and perhaps inspiring others. It's an honor to walk you through this, to show you the layers beneath the surface, both literally and metaphorically. So, as we begin this multi-hour deep dive, I encourage you to let go of the surface world for a while, because what's happening below Norway is worth your full attention. Norway's landscape and why tunnels matter. If you've ever looked at a map of Norway, you'll notice something different, something broken, yet connected. An endless coastline that twists and splinters like a puzzle of land and sea. Here, in this narrow Scandinavian strip, geography is destiny. And destiny requires creativity. Norway's western coast is nothing short of majestic. Towering cliffs, deep valleys, and glittering fjords shaped by glaciers over millions of years. It's the kind of scenery that draws travelers from across the globe and gives engineers sleepless nights. A beautiful obstacle. The very beauty that defines Norway, its dramatic, fractured terrain, is also what makes transportation so difficult. Fjords are long, narrow inlets carved by ice, stretching deep into the mainland. In many places, there's simply no land to build a road, no easy bridge to span the chasm. So, for centuries, Norwegians relied on the sea. Ferries became part of daily life. Essential. Ubiquitous. At one point, over 130 ferry routes crisscrossed the country's western edges. But as the population grew, as commerce expanded, and as weather patterns became more unpredictable, the ferry began to feel less like a lifeline and more like a limitation. Delays. Cancellations. Narrow timetables. For families, for businesses, for ambulances, waiting wasn't always an option. Norway's tunnel revolution. That's where Norway turned inward. Or more precisely, underground. Few nations have embraced the tunnel like Norway has. It is, quite literally, a country that digs deep to get ahead. As of today, Norway has more than 1,100 road tunnels. If you stack their lengths together, they would stretch over 800 kilometers. That's like tunneling from Oslo to Berlin. Norway holds several tunnel records. The Lærdal Tunnel, the world's longest road tunnel at 24.5 kilometers. The Rogfast Tunnel, until recently the world's deepest undersea tunnel. And soon, Rogfast will claim both crowns. Why Norway builds tunnels, not roads? But why tunnels? Why not just build long bridges or winding cliffside highways? The answer lies in a blend of logic and landscape. Norway's geology, made of ancient, hard rock, is ideal for tunnel boring. The mountains here are stable, offering natural structural support. Bridges, while beautiful, are vulnerable. To storms. To ice. To wear. But a tunnel, built properly, endures for decades, protected from nature's extremes. And then there's the weather. Coastal Norway faces harsh conditions, violent winds, heavy snowfall, freezing rain. Tunnels offer safe, all-weather travel. In short, tunnels make sense. For cost. For safety. For efficiency. The E39 vision, a ferry-free future. The dream of uniting Norway's fractured coastline isn't new. But in 2013, it took a formal name, the E39 Coastal Highway Project. This mega-project, stretching over 1,100 kilometers, is designed to eliminate all ferries between Kristiansand in the south and Trondheim in the north. The vision is bold. It involves multiple underwater tunnels, floating bridges, suspension spans, and countless technical challenges. But central to this plan is Rogfast, the linchpin, the core. Without Rogfast, the E39 remains broken. It's the largest and most technically difficult piece of the puzzle, burrowing beneath one of Norway's widest and deepest fjords, Boknafjord. Boknafjord, nature's barrier. The Boknafjord is not just a waterway, it's a divide. Wider than most fjords. deeper than most seas, and more traveled than many highways. Ferry routes here serve thousands each day, with vehicles and cargo moving between Randaberg, Kvitsøy, and Bokn. But ferries can only do so much. The Boknafjord became the perfect candidate, not just for connection, but for innovation. That's why, when Norwegian engineers envisioned the future, they didn't go around. They didn't go over. They decided to go through. Straight beneath the sea. A cultural mindset, adapting to nature. What's remarkable is that the Norwegian people didn't resist the idea of underground travel. In fact, they embraced it. Tunnels here aren't seen as unnatural intrusions, they're part of life. A modern extension of harmony with the land, rather than domination over it. There's a quiet pragmatism in Norwegian infrastructure, a belief that if nature gives you a challenge, you don't fight it. You adapt. And sometimes, adapting means drilling a hole straight through a mountain or plunging beneath the sea. Why Rogfast is the next logical step. Everything we've explored so far, the geography, the culture, the politics of connection, brings us to one conclusion. Rogfast isn't just a project. It's an inevitability. A natural next step in Norway's evolution. A solution that grew not from desire, but from necessity. And while other nations may marvel at such ambition, for Norwegians, it feels obvious. Because when your landscape looks like this, tunneling is not just a possibility. It's a way of life. And so, with a deeper understanding of the land Rogfast belongs to, we can now begin to understand what Rogfast really is. Not a rebellion against nature, but a handshake with it. A quiet agreement to share space, to move forward together, rock by rock, meter by meter. What is Rogfast? The big picture. So far, we've journeyed through Norway's rugged terrain, its deep fjords, its reliance on tunnels, and the visionary E39 highway project. But now, let's bring the focus sharply into view. Let's talk about Rogfast itself. What exactly is this tunnel? Where is it being built? And why has it captured the attention of engineers around the world? Rogfast, short for Rogaland Fixed Link, is a tunnel being built in southwestern Norway, beneath the waters of the Boknafjord. It will connect the municipality of Randaberg, just north of Stavanger, to the municipality of Bokn further north. But this is no ordinary tunnel. Once completed, Rogfast will stretch 27 kilometers, or roughly 16.8 miles. To put that into perspective, that's longer than the entire island of Manhattan. But even more impressive is its depth. The tunnel will reach 392 meters, or 1,286 feet, below sea level at its deepest point. That's deeper than 3 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of one another, buried beneath the sea. A dual tunnel system. But Rogfast isn't a single tube. It's actually a twin-tube tunnel system, 2 parallel tunnels, each with 2 lanes of traffic, one for each direction. These 2 main bores will be linked by cross passages every 250 meters, allowing for emergency access, maintenance routes, and ventilation infrastructure. This dual tunnel design is not just for efficiency. It's for safety. In the event of a fire, breakdown, or emergency in one tube, travelers can quickly be directed to the other side through designated escape corridors. Lighting systems will simulate natural daylight. Ventilation systems will actively manage air quality and smoke control. Surveillance cameras, emergency telephones, and fire response systems will be embedded throughout the tunnel's length, connecting more than 2 points. But Rogfast isn't just linking 2 municipalities. It's connecting entire regions, transforming fragmented coastal traffic into a seamless arterial flow. At its southern end, the tunnel begins in Randaberg, just north of the city of Stavanger, one of Norway's economic powerhouses and a major hub for the oil and gas industry. To the north lies Bokn, a municipality composed of islands and scattered settlements, where access to the rest of the country has long depended on ferry routes and coastal detours. With Rogfast in place, travel time between Randaberg and Bach will be slashed from around 45 minutes with a ferry to just 18 minutes by car. No waiting. No delays. Just drive. It's not just about convenience, it's about reliability. About creating a fixed connection that operates 24/7, in any weather, every day of the year. The Kvitsøy connection. And then, there's Kvitsøy, a small island municipality, home to fewer than 600 people, located almost directly above the future tunnel route. Rogfast includes a vertical branch tunnel connecting the main tubes to Kvitsøy, essentially giving this tiny community direct access to mainland Norway without relying on a ferry. For the people of Kvitsøy, this is transformational. Medical access, educational opportunities, supply deliveries, tourism, everything changes when your home is suddenly plugged into a national highway. A cornerstone of the E39 coastal highway. Let's zoom out again, because Rogfast isn't just a local project. It's part of something much bigger, the E39 coastal highway project. This 1,100-kilometer route is Norway's most ambitious road development plan, aiming to eliminate all ferry crossings along the west coast by using tunnels, bridges, and advanced transport infrastructure. Rogfast is the single largest and most complex component of this puzzle. Without it, the continuity of the highway collapses. In short, Rogfast is not just a tunnel, it's the keystone of a vision meant to reshape Norway's connectivity, economic flow, and future mobility. The stakes of delay. Big dreams, of course, come with big challenges. Construction delays. Cost overruns. Political skepticism. Environmental concerns. In 2019, just 2 years after the project began, a major contractor dropped out, causing a pause in activity. Costs were re-evaluated. Designs were tweaked. Bidding was reopened. But the vision never wavered. The Norwegian government, regional authorities, and the Norwegian Public Roads Administration remained steadfast. Rogfast was, and is, too important to abandon. After restructuring, work resumed in full force. As of now, multiple tunnel boring fronts are progressing simultaneously, with estimates projecting completion around 2033. What it means for Norwegians. For the people of Western Norway, Rogfast is more than a number. It's about lives made easier. About jobs gained. About time saved. For farmers in Rogaland, it means easier delivery to markets. For students in Bach, it means quicker access to universities in Stavanger. For travelers, it means skipping the ferry and hitting the road without a pause. This tunnel will shorten journeys, but more importantly, it will shrink the psychological distance between regions that once felt far apart. The global perspective. Globally, Rogfast is part of a new generation of infrastructure. One that pushes the limits of depth, complexity, and environmental responsibility. Engineers from Japan, Switzerland, China, and beyond have studied this project. What's being done here isn't just impressive, it's instructive. In the age of megacities and climate volatility, underground infrastructure like Rogfast offers resilience, stability, and low-impact solutions. As cities grow upward, Norway is quietly building downward. And that's a bold statement about how the future might look. Historical background and political push. It's easy to admire a tunnel once it's built. You see the concrete walls, the polished lighting, the smooth flow of traffic, and it all feels inevitable. But the truth is, mega projects like Rogfast are rarely born overnight. They come into being slowly, painfully, in stages. First as sketches, then as discussions, then as battles, in boardrooms, in parliament chambers, in budget debates and public opinion forums. To understand Rogfast, we must go back, not just to the construction start in 2017, but decades earlier. Back to the 1980s, when the idea of a fixed connection beneath the Boknafjord first entered public conversation. Early visions, the 1980s and 90s. Norway in the 1980s was in the midst of a transformation. Oil wealth was reshaping its economy. Cities were growing. Mobility was becoming a national priority. And with that came a new ambition, to finally solve the ferry problem along the west coast. The idea of a ferry-free corridor between Stavanger and Bergen began to gain traction. Talks of a Rogaland fixed link started to appear in regional planning documents. At first, they were theoretical, a distant dream. Digging under a massive fjord? Too costly. Too difficult. Too far-fetched. But the need was undeniable. Traffic was increasing. Delays were mounting. People were growing tired of relying on unpredictable ferries. And so, the seed was planted.